Just before we put the streaming back on, it'll be 2 separate takes. So we need to do some formalities and introduction again, because it's sort of a restart. Okay. 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 Well, welcome to the licensing regulator meeting today. We've considered item 1, 2 and 3 and also 5 and 6. And we've also considered item 7. And we returned to the agenda this morning on the 21st of April to item agenda 4, part 1 and part 2. And due to the break in the live streaming, we'll reintroduce ourselves as a committee again. County Councillor Linda Guppy, Chairman of the Licensing Committee.
County Councillor Brian Strong, Vice Chairman of the Licensing Committee.
Pat Perkins, Legal Advisor to the committee.
Sarah King, Democratic Services.
Councillor John Prosser, Member of Committee.
Francis Taylor.
Anne Webb.
Dave Evans.
Pauline Watts, Member.
Ralph Chapman.
Linda Gorman, Principal Licensing Officer.
And David Jones, Head of Regulatory Services.
Thank you for that. Would you take us through item agenda number 4?
Yeah, the first item was the Gambling Act 2005 premises licence fees. These fees have to be reviewed annually and to be set on the 21st of May of each year. The premises licence fees that it's referring to is betting shops, tracks, adult gaming centres, family entertainment centres and bingo premises. There is no fee set in for the casino on the Gambling Act, and this is as a result of the resolution there will be no casinos within Monmouthshire County Council, and that was approved at full council on the 22nd of November 2012. So with that in mind, an assessment was done as to the fee levels, and that is actually displayed on Appendix B of the report, which shows the maximum permitted fees that we are able to set. That there is like a sliding band done by government as to the maximum we can go to. And on assessing the fees, and a lot of them, which is the application for provisional statements, annual fees, transfer application fee, variation application fee, and provisional statement application fee, we are at the maximum level. The one that isn't at the maximum level is the actual application fee itself, and that was done through processing and assessment of it. So the report today basically looks to approve the fees in Appendix A of the report for the next coming year, which is the 21st of May 2015 to the 20th of May 2016. Another point to note, the next policy for gambling will actually be in November, go to full council in November 2015 for it to be in place in the January of the following year. And that report will actually give the policy of how the local authority adopts carries out applications under the Gambling Act, but also will look then to seek to see whether or not the authority will permit casinos within the authority. So there'll be 2 reports going to that committee, just as a point of note at a later stage.
Have members got any comments? Just one. Okay.
Chair, I mean, the fees are presented to us. I've had no people consulting me as to variations or whatever, and it's all as per schedule, really. Unless there's been major representations, which I don't know about, I move that we accept the recommendations.
Okay, thank you for that. With just one question for myself. I know that you do an in-depth fee calculation, and some of them show the fee show over what we're charging. However, that correlates to the maximum permitted fee allowance. Does the overall fees cover a surplus budget, and do the licensing department go into a deficit budget in view of these individual calculations?
The main one that we tend to get into the authority are the annual fees. We haven't had any new applications for quite some time, really. So it is the annual fee assessment, and if you look at Appendix B on that, it is assessed as on some occasions, sort of bingo premises, it'll be double, but we haven't got any bingo premises, so we're not affected at present on that. The ones that we have got are the adult gaming centres, the betting premises, and the track race course as well. So if you look at the assessment on that, does go slightly over within it, but then obviously the fees are then incorporated as a whole within the section. But for the Gambling Act purposes, obviously there is a slight deficit on those couple of elements, but we've only got a handful of premises anyway, so it doesn't greatly affect the section itself.
Okay, so it doesn't put any unnecessary strain on the department in view of a budget deficit?
If I just add to that, Chair, clearly we try and get to as close to a zero budget as we can. Overall, in terms of licensing, it operates at about £70,000 net budget. Some of that, you could say zero would be better, but obviously in Licensing Act 2003, which would be more impacted in terms of money in, is sent centrally. So that's a loss leader, if you like, if you're running a business. But we've got no control over that. We are very careful. I know Graham Perry and Linda particularly did a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of getting the fees right, because we don't want to be subject to legal challenge. And I know some of our South Wales colleagues, Cardiff, for example, have a massive bill to pay because they overcharge taxi drivers. So we are very cautious as to what we charge. It is correct and proper, and there's swings and roundabouts, really. There'll be slight loss fee in, but generally the position is fairly stable in terms of comparing ourselves with other authorities.
Okay, with that added information, I had a seconder, a proposer and a seconder. Are they still in place? Okay. Can we show hands in view of the recommendations, which are two recommendations in 2.1, the fee charges detail in Appendix A, and are approved and will come into effect on the 21st of May, and the fees subsequently will be reviewed annually. We'll show of hands. Okay, thank you. On to the second part.
Actually, Chair, I'm going to declare an interest because I'm a member of an Iron Bevan Health Board, and Health Board is obviously one of the responsible authorities, so it's not prejudicial, I don't think, particularly, but I'll just declare that interest.
Okay.
Okay, the next report then is the Licensing Act policy statement, and it's been brought here today following the consultation of this document. It was initially sort of brought to this committee on the 20th of January 2015. We've had a 3 months consultation, and this report sort of highlights some of the changes made to the previous document. I think it was requested at the last meeting that we sort of put items in red that's sort of been added to the previous document, so that's been done on this policy statement. The layout has completely changed though from the last one, but those bits in red are the main points that have altered. After the consultation in 3.3 of the report, Gwent Police requested an addendum to 17.1 to include Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act 2014, and to remove the designated public places order, which has now changed to public space protection order under this act. So that's been amended in the policy. There was a few typing errors which people sort of brought to attention, so that was also amended in the policy itself. It's required now to go to full council, and the timescale for that is on the 14th of May, so it'll come into play in June. It doesn't have to be in place until the January of next year. That's the last cut-off date. But we try to do it early. For the reason being behind that is because we've got the gambling policy to deal with now for that date as well. Since this report has been brought here, we've had recent changes under the Deregulation Act on the 6th of April. So there'd be a slight amendment, but that was actually sort of stipulated in the policy itself that if there's any legal changes, we would make the changes to that policy without having to have it go again out for consultation. It'll just be an automatic change because it's by law. So there's a few little tweaks on there, and that will be done prior to the full council because that's only now just come in with regards to live music and recorded music and a number of other entertainment aspects. But that's something that won't be out for consultation because it is law itself.
Okay, thank you for that. And thank you for highlighting it in red. The report itself and the policy is very long, but the way it's set out is makes it easy reading for the certain sections. It's already been to this committee. Is there anything else or any further comments that members would like to make today?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, it's on little 26, page 43, live music, dancing. It says amplifiers, live music between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. Right. Is that for just premises, or is it for outside activities as well? Entertainment. Like, I'll give an example. Where I'm coming from is that down the castle, Caldecott Castle, they have you have live music going on in the evenings. Would it affect that, or would that be included?
If I can explain what the Live Music Act is, that's one of the sections that's going to be tweaked before full council as well, because we've had a recent change on the live music. If you can take, I'll give an example of a pub which has got a beer garden, so I'll give you that sort of example. If the pub was marked out itself for live music initially, it means that from 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night, they don't need a licence for live music because there's an unlicensed premises. But there is a restriction for 200, which has recently changed to 500. But also included would be the beer garden, and the reason behind that, the Act actually stipulates that a workplace can also be included under the Live Music Act. So because the garden is regarded as a workplace for the boundary, both elements can have the live music from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. But that's for unlicensed premises. If there's no alcohol sales and it's just somebody in the street, you can't have amplified music under the Live Music Act. It has to be unamplified, and there is no restrictions in numbers then, so obviously it'd be just a small sort of person sort of on a guitar or something like that, you know, so as an example. So there is changes to the live music. Like I say, it's gone from 200 to 500, and there's also the same sort of element is for recorded music, which would be the two noise elements we may get sort of things on. Recorded music is again on licensed premises from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. However, recorded music will not be in the beer gardens unless it's actually marked out, unlike the Live Music Act, because they haven't got workplace in the recorded music.
Is there any further questions? Is there a lot of changes in view to be added with the recent law changes, or can you sort of give us the subheadings?
There will be changes under the regulated entertainment element, which is number on point 24 and 25 of the policy itself. It'll be tweaked slightly. Like I said, as I mentioned, the live music has gone from 200 to 500, so that's the only change in point 25. But we will need to sort of point out that recorded music, there's performance of plays, indoor sport and events, and performance of dance are now included in deregulation and films, and also boxing and wrestling. So we'll give a quick overview in those items in 24 and 25. So that's the main bits that's going to change, is those two sections. Okay. Okay.
Is there any further questions? Is there a lot of changes in view to be added with the recent law changes, or can you sort of give us the subheadings?
The
If there's no further questions,
I'd like to reiterate what you said, Chair, about how well it's been highlighted and the changes that you've put in at the last minute. It's quite a full document, and it's good that it's all been reviewed now and that we are up to date regarding the law and our interpretation as a council. So I'd like to thank the officers for their input to that, and I recommend we receive it.
okay, I'll show of hands that we all received this policy document and that it's put to its final and sent to the committee for council. Thank you. The next agenda item then, it's number 8, to note the date and time of the next licensing committee is the 9th of June at 10 o'clock at 2005. Oh, sorry, 15. Okay.
9th of June, is it?
9th of June 2015 at 10 o'clock. I haven't had any further dates, but from the previous training that we had, it's possible that two further dates will have to be arranged in view of rights of way, public rights of way are going to be brought to the committee, and the presentations are deemed to be about 2 hours long prior to deliberation, but no further dates follow at the moment.
Can I say, Chair, how surprised I was not to see the public rights of way issue on the agenda, because when we spoke about it at the last committee, and you'll recall, and it may very well be recorded, we discussed the training, the date of the training, which was indeed smack bang in the middle of the Easter holidays. I understand from colleagues that only about half of the committee was able to make the training. But we were advised that we absolutely must have that training on that day, because today the public rights of way matter would be brought forward to this committee, so it was deemed important. I noted that it wasn't part of the agenda, and I since hear from officers that it may very well be that it will be an entirely separate day, of which this committee will be called to hear that. I just want to further express my disappointment that this wasn't well and better planned from the outset in terms of the training that took place. You said there may be subsequent dates, which is fine, but that it's not been terribly clear why, how, the wherefores have not been well communicated to, I don't feel anyway. I don't know if that's shared by my fellow members, but I certainly feel that it ought to have been better communicated, and I look forward to it being a smoother process, because obviously the other point is that it's quite likely now that any dates will be after the annual meeting, which may mean that there may very well be different members on this committee who would require the training anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Taylor. I know that we had a separate email. In terms of head of service, that's Ian Saunders. It's hard to keep up sometimes with the structural changes. And just to reiterate, absolutely, Ian accepts that, and obviously clearly spoke to Matthew, who's a countryside manager. But just to be clear, that's another part of the organisation. It's Ruth Rourke is the lady that deals with public rights of way. She reports to Matthew Lewis. Matthew to Ian, but Ian accepts that, and I think it's a valid point that, my recollection is the same as Councillor Taylor's, and I know that they're aware of that, and they've spoken of that as a countryside service to try and get that right next time. Yeah.
I just, and in view of the report not being brought, I think the report is, there's a lot of elements of highways, so it's another department and it's not as straightforward. Councillor Evans and Councillor John
Thank you,
Prosser
Madam
next.
Chair. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that there's nothing on the agenda for today. I was given to understand the reason why we had to have the training then, aware was because these two cases was at least one of them would be coming in front of us. As it's just been said, we have got, the next meeting is after the AGM, and there could be different people on here. Do we have to go through this process again? Or can one of these cases be brought before the AGM? Perhaps that's the case. And the other thing, Madam Chair, can I ask, it's a question to you, is have we got any open space coming up, applications coming up in front of us?
I don't know about the public open space, Pat.
Oh, do you mean, Village Green applications? I currently hold no pending Village Green applications.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Prosser?
Yes, I'd just like to say I knew there was training available. I attended it and I enjoyed it. And I thought it was a breath of fresh air on how we interpret footpaths, etc. in the countryside. I had a few questions and my questions were answered. So I don't want to detract from the value of the training. It was good. But as regards the rest of scheduling and whether you have special meetings and whether we tell people, I think it's up to the chair and the committee to come to an agreement on.
Yeah, as I said, it's a highway issue that the report wasn't brought today. It's completely out of control in view of the density of report. At the training, we're informed that it will block up our computers, and I don't think the report is finalised, but it's such an in-depth report that they will be sending it through the post and not online. Okay.
Can I come back? I was here for that training, and can I say I was very impressed how the training was presented to us. So I think our thanks should go back to Ruth for organising it.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a small point. Can't we pick them up from here if it's such a big document to save expenses, please?
They can be. It's whether the expense of travelling outweighs the postage, and.
Well, by the sound of it, it does, doesn't it? Because it's a very big document.
Okay.
Chair, I don't particularly want a large document coming through my letterbox. I tried to follow electronically, so as long as I get a link to the website where it is logged, I think that'll be sufficient for me. Because what you just said was we're going to get a working document posted to us. Well, we're trying to go electronic, aren't we? You know, so...
Chair, I seem to recall...
Just the clarity of what's in the document would be better for us to receive it, a paper form. In past experience, I would prefer a paper document with the detail of what we will be presented, in my experience.
I seem to recall at the training, one of the members, I don't know whether it was you, Chair, requested that they had it, because it would be so much information, more than the 3 days. So I suppose it could be available here for members to pick up, perhaps when they're here anyway. I'm not sure about that.
Clarify. Okay. I'll end the meeting today, and we'll be informed of any subsequent additional meetings. Thank you very much.